Welcome back, Southern Extreme TV. Thanks for hanging out with me. It is raining right now, you guys can see, but this rain is going to be short-lived. Right now, this is a trail camera photo on the opposite end of the county. So you can see the sun shining and the deer are moving right now. So I feel good about it. We had a good deer show up here this morning. Daylighted at, let's see, what was the first photo of him? Excuse me, I'm coming off of a little sickness right now. Deer showed up at 8:30 this morning and stayed in front of the trail camera until 10 o'clock. And landowner seen him. The landowner actually seen this deer this morning, and where this deer was spotted at versus where my trail camera is at versus where the deer was leaving when he left my trail camera view. I've got a pretty doggone good idea where this deer is bedded at, and there's a 50-50 chance that this deer comes into where we're at this afternoon. It's 6 o'clock right now, so we've still got probably 2.5-ish hours to hunt. I don't know what time sunset is, probably around 8 o'clock. But I'm not sitting in this rain. Right now I can see clouds starting to part right there. Now I don't think it's going to take long. Once those clouds start to part, these deer are going to get up out of their beds and they're going to start moving around. A, because the rain cools everything down, and B, they're just like me and you. They want to get up and shake off and dry off and go get some food. So what I'm waiting on right now, as soon as this rain passes over, I'm going to scurry up on top of this hill and try to get set up as absolutely fast as humanly possible. And then we're going to give it a couple hours and see if we can get it done. So that's the game plan for this afternoon. A couple good deer in the area. We've got two good shooters over here. One that's a borderline that may get shot if he comes in bow range. It's just one of those, don't know if I'd shoot him with a rifle, might shoot him with a bow. Just all depends. But we'll get over here and see if we can make it happen. Give you an update. Rain is still raining. Weatherman got it wrong. Rain was supposed to be out of here. It's 6:30. I've been sitting in the truck now for about 30 minutes. Weatherman said that the rain was supposed to be gone at like 5 to 10 minutes after 6. Right now he's about coming up on 30 minutes late on that, and it's still coming down pretty good. I can still see around this storm, like it's opening up right there. I can see it clearing. But the problem is I don't really know exactly where it's coming from. It's like this entire storm is just sitting right on top of us. And from what I can tell, it looks like the storm like moved over the top of us and then just stopped, and then we're waiting on it to pick back up and move again. So who knows? I'm just hoping we can at least get, an hour to hour and a half worth of hunting out of this. But right now that clock is ticking. I really don't want to go busting off up in there with only 30 minutes to spare. I want it to be a legit hunt where we can actually have a good feeling about going in there. So we'll see. We're gambling right now. I know y'all can still hear that thunder rolling in the distance, but it is, right on the borderline of getting ready to quit raining. I can literally look up and see the sun right there. So I gambled and took a break for it. We're gonna see if we can let old Schwacker fly tonight. Don't really know where. Don't know exactly where this deer is going to come from, but I feel like I have a good idea as to where he's bedded at. I'm already a little wet, but I had to walk through some pretty tall grass to get here. Try to keep my camera dry as best as I can. Man, I'm banking on 6:41. I'm banking on this last hour and a half of daylight that we got. If it'll quit raining, then I feel like these deer will get up on their feet and move. At least that's what I'm hoping for. Right now, the wind's better than what it was supposed to be. The wind originally said it was going to be blowing straight from my back, kind of down at an angle. Right now it's kind of carrying across to my left where those deer usually want to come from in the mornings. But in the afternoons, they typically want to come from this left side or out of this stuff to the right going to bed. The sun is literally shining right now and it's still raining on me. Everything I got is just soaking wet. But I gambled on being a little wet for the simple fact that that deer was in front of that trail camera at 10 o'clock this morning. And then he turned and went down the hill to my left, going to bed. And my guess is he's not bedded far away at all. And as thick as this field is, he could very well be bedded in this field. So, I mean, it could be literally like a light switch. As soon as that rain stops, this deer could just stand up and come walking in. So I wanted to eliminate that excuse entirely. But we're going to be a little wet because of it. Hopefully it's going to work out. Just as expected for seeing deer. I've seen 2 deer and then a little yearling. We've seen that yearling about every time we've hunted here. We've got I think that's a persimmon tree behind me that is just absolutely loaded. I believe that's where that buck was going to the other night that we seen. is making me nervous though. I know this buck. This buck is close. He's close, close, close. Right now that wind's blowing dead in to the corner where the corn is at. But where that deer went to bed at is in the opposite direction. So with that wind changing, I don't feel as confident about where this deer is going to come from, A, and B, if we're even going to see this deer. If the wind would have stayed consistent, then I feel like that deer would have worked his way in here, but with that wind in that direction, I don't think he can smell us right now. But I think where he's wanting to go to at nighttime is directly upwind of where he's bedded at. So he doesn't have a reason to kind of loop around that area and cut through this little safe. It's almost a staging area, even though it's a field. It's so growed up, they use it as a staging area, and they just walk these borders and walk these perimeters. But I'm gonna try to stay positive. We still got some time. It's 7:30. Probably gonna have about another 45 minutes, 30 minutes worth of shooting light. Being in the field helps us just a little bit, so hopefully something's gonna come out here in a little bit. Well, it's the next afternoon. I was actually headed back to go hunt that same stand this afternoon, but on the way there I got trail camera photos of the landowner or somebody bush hogging. So I have no idea what's gonna happen there this afternoon, so I decided to bail out, and Brittany was right behind me. She was going to hunt a different property, so I decided to come film her. She has never killed a deer with a bow. She hunted here the other night, seen a couple bucks. We got 2 or 3 bucks over here. We're probably going to let her shoot if they come out. We really want them to be about 40 to 50 yards at the most. And we'd like them to be a lot closer than that if possible. But we just got up in the stand. It's about 5:30. Sun is still high, but with these bean fields, these deer don't live far off of the beans. So as soon as they get up off their bed, they're not traveling far to go eat. So you got to be in here early and you got to be set up. The only exposure we really got right now is going to be the wind right now. While we've been sitting here, the wind has transitioned a couple times, which is not great. Don't really know where these deer are going to come out from. This is the same stand I shot a buck out of last year that came out all the way down this road bed to our right, but then walked up the road bed and came into this bean field, which it was a cut cornfield last year, so it's really just up in the air as to what they're going to do. But we should see deer. We just need to make sure we see the right deer. Hopefully they come in and give us a shot opportunity. So see if we can let an arrow fly. We've seen one deer so far. I've seen a small buck that popped out on this road bed at about 5:45, and he definitely smelled us. He trotted off back into the woods. We think or Brittany thinks that that's the small buck that was running with a bunch of does the last time she hunted here. So hopefully, if the big bachelor group of bucks are bedded in there, maybe they're not directly with them does, and maybe they're used to those does and small bucks just running around all over the place acting stupid. So hopefully it's not completely blown out of the water, and there's enough time. There's been enough time for everything to kind of settle down. It's about 7 o'clock right now, I think. What time is it? 7 o'clock. So we've got probably another hour to hunt of good light. Around 8 o'clock it starts getting pretty dark. But hopefully they should start moving here in just a little bit. You can tell the air temperatures drop down, so it's starting to cool off. That should be the ticket to getting these deer to get up out of their bed and move on out here and start feeding. He's right there. Come on, you bastard. Yeah. See him? He just popped. See those two big trees on my viewfinder? See his tips? In the viewfinder. Look at the viewfinder. Yep. That's a big deer though. He's just neat. Well, I got a little bit of a crazy idea following yesterday's hunt. As you could see, or I believe you could see, we seen the tips of a pretty good buck, but he was all the way across the field, all the way across. So that's not good. But I've got a somewhat of a crazy idea. I've never done this before here in North Carolina, but we have a really good wind this afternoon for where we're going to be hunting at. So if you guys can see that wind right there, we got a southwest wind, and where this deer was coming from was somewhere back down in here. Trying to do this without you guys seeing where I'm hunting at, selfishly, but the deer was somewhere down in this swag. Come from this direction here, down at the bottom of my phone. I believe that I can actually go and either get directly on the edge of those woods and try to catch that deer coming out of the woods into those beans to feed, or potentially set in the beans itself and catch that deer coming. No matter what, the wind direction is going to be good. Brittany is going to be going with me. She's going to go back up into the stand that we were hunting yesterday afternoon
mainly as kind of the safe bet. You know, hopefully the deer goes in front of her and she's able to get a good shot off on it, and it works out. But that deer that we seen came out with plenty enough daylight. It's still early enough in the season to where these deer are somewhat in a routine. The fact that he's feeding on the beans that heavy tells me that he is bedding very, very close to there. The problem is that there's a good bit of bedding all in that area. So this deer could have bedded down midday or early this morning in a completely different area that he was bedded in than he was bedded yesterday afternoon. But you see a deer that caliber that daylights, that is hitting a food source, a lot of times they're going to do the exact same thing, especially if they're comfortable. And right now we've got the wind to do it. I think the pressure is right tonight. The pressure looks good based on the trail cameras. We had hardly any movement last night on our trail cameras, and then hardly any movement today mid-morning through the morning. So this afternoon should just be absolutely primed and ready to roll. I got a little bit of a walk because I've got to take the long way around the edge of this field. It's a pretty big field, but the good thing is I am going to have some eyes up above me. I'm not going to be hunting that far from Britt, so she's going to be able to give me some hand signals if she sees something, and she'll be able to text me and, you know, let me know if something crazy is going on. But I think it's going to be wild. It's going to be a random type of hunt, but it's a good deer, and it's worth going in there, both of us, and hoping for the best. I got my GoPro on my head. I've got the tripod like we're going turkey hunting, and I've got the crossbow. I got the 10-point, which is a really, really awesome thing about using those crossbows is you can actually get in and get on the ground. You can cover a lot of ground and limit your movements if you do get a shot opportunity. So that's the game plan for this afternoon. Brittany is eating a random baked potato right now. I'm trying to motivate her into hurry up and getting in the truck, but we're getting ready to load up and head out. Hopefully we get it done, guys. Trying to get up here and get set up. These beans are about chest high. It's super hot. I'm also trying to keep a check on the wind. Right now, that wind's blowing right back down there, which is awesome. That deer we seen last night was over this hill. That tree that little patch of trees right there is where Brittany will be at. And that tree line over there, I've got a tree picked out where that deer was in line, or what that deer was in line with. So my goal is to try to get up here to the edge of these beans and just kind of skirt along the edge of it and try to find a place to camp out. It might be something where I'm actually standing because of how tall all this is. If I can find good enough cover to get tucked in there. So really just trying to take my time and make sure that the wind ain't doing nothing crazy, because I don't think this deer's bedded that far away. It's like right there, my wind's kind of cutting up through there, which is okay as long as that deer is bedded straight in front of me. So he's on up here, trying to get set up. This is definitely not the most ideal setup, but two things happened on my way in here. The wind changed, which I don't know if it changed or if that's just the direction that wind always blows in because of the terrain right here. But as soon as I got up, this deer was in this little bowl yesterday. And as soon as I got up here, up top, that wind just did a 180 and started blowing right down the hill. And it not only did it start blowing down the hill, it started kind of hooking back to the left, which would have been where that deer came from. So I've decided to back up, and I've got a pretty good opening right here that I can shoot. I can shoot probably 50 yards down through there. The problem is I don't think that this is where that deer was at. I think I'm farther away from this deer than what I think. But the positive note is that one of the big trees that was all the way across this field that deer was close to is 20 yards from me. So there's a chance that I could get this deer to step out into this little opening, this little row bed. Not really a row bed, it's just an area of the beans that did not come up as well as the others. If he'll come out and stand right there, as long as he's within 50 yards, I'll try to sling one. 50 yards covers a pretty good chunk. That biggest overhanging tree limb right there is at 60. That's pretty close to where that deer was at. But the problem is I've got a window of about 10 or 15 yards that deer has to step in for me to be able to get a shot. And if he just comes into the field and walks straight across it without slowing down, then I'm screwed. Because if he gets over there into the actual tall beans, then there's no way I'm going to get a shot on this deer. I brought my second little GoPro there just in case things got western and I needed to go move in on him, but I don't think that there's any possible way that I can get any closer. I'm in a pretty comfortable spot, picking a bunch of briars out of my butthole right now, but other than that, I feel like I'm pretty covered. I've got a pretty good bit of brush in front of me. There's no way that deer can see me until he gets into my shooting lane. Now, for me to be ready, as soon as he steps out into that shooting lane, that's another topic of discussion. But I'm starting to like this spot a little bit better the longer that I sit here, so definitely want to try to be on our toes and be ready, if at all possible. Let's see if we can get her done. That wind has finally somewhat settled. It's been pretty consistent. The good thing is that the direction it's blowing is kind of the opposite of what the weatherman said, but it makes sense to be the perfect wind for that deer to approach this bean field, to come into the same area that he was in yesterday afternoon. It's 6 o'clock. It was definitely closer to 7 yesterday when we seen that deer. Still plenty of daylight left. I just hope that this deer doesn't do anything crazy and,
bedded out there in the beans, which I think there's not enough cloud cover in the beans for him to have been bedded right there. And it looks like the bulk, it looks like there's a whole lot of beans that have been ate down in this bowl, which is where I feel like that deer was at. The only problem is there's a little knoll right here, and the beans are high. If that deer gets past me, I don't know if I can get a shot off on him. Even if I stood up, I think his vitals would be protected. I think his vitals would be protected by the beans. But I'm in the absolute best possible place I could be in. Wind direction. Location could probably be a little bit better, but with wind direction, this is about as good as it's going to get. I gotta hope that he doesn't focus any energy in looking up here, because I've got a good backdrop, but I don't think I'm not crazy covered with brush in front of me. My lower half and probably my chest down, belly button down, has got plenty of cover, but everything from my shoulders up, which is typically what's the most dangerous body feature to get you caught in the woods, is pretty exposed. But I shouldn't have a whole lot of movement to get on him and get a shot, other than having to try to turn the dang camera on, for one. That was probably the biggest one. But it's still early. We still got plenty of time. They're going to start moving here in a little bit. I can feel it. Well, we've only seen that one doe. I say a doe, it could have been a yearling. He came all the way, came out on the far end of the field. I was feeding by the tripod, but Brittany just sent a text and told me that there's 2 does in the beans. And said that they were should be to my right hand side, which that's the only place they can be, because I can't see them anywhere. Starting to get a little nervous. It's 7:30. It's 7:30 and still haven't seen a buck. Brittany's not texting me back right now, so I'm hoping that she's got some deer that are moving in on her. Hopefully one of them's this big buck. This buck that's over here, that's a good deer. That's a really good deer. This property right here don't usually have giant deer. We usually have one decent deer every year. We're gonna keep hunkering in right here. I feel
feel like if that deer does what he did yesterday, then we will be pretty dang close to him. But these deer can just come into these beans from so many different angles and so many different directions. They're not limited to one trail or two trails. They're limited to 30 or 40 different trails. Can't really tell what that wind's doing. Looks like it's trying to carry out across the field. Which is not terrible, I don't guess. That wind should set up perfect for Brittany, but I don't know if that will. I don't know if that'll entice our buck to come out in the same area or not.
Well, guys, it's the next day. We didn't see any deer, or I seen that one little doe. Brittany had a small group of bucks come in on her, and they got downwind and busted her before she could get a shot at them. So it's been a good little kind of few days of hunting. We've seen some good deer, seen numbers of deer, so can't really complain all that much. It's been good. Hopefully this is just a continuation of what this season holds, and hopefully we get some big deer down on the ground. So with that's going to be it to the end of this episode. We're going to be filming all season long. We got coyote hunts coming up. We've got deer hunts coming up. And you guys are going to be along for the ride for the whole shebang. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. We are trying to grow this thing to 100,000 subs. So every click gets me one step closer. And then if you've already subscribed, make sure you share these videos. Sharing helps put our stuff in front of other people as well. And that just helps us get closer to our goal of 100,000 subscribers. So with that, thanks for hanging out. I'll see you guys on the next one.